York's classic rock, Q1043.
Huey Lewis is with us this morning here at Q104.3, along with Zoe Jensen, one of the stars of the Heart of Rock and Roll on Broadway, which opened a month and I think 3 days ago. And we have them here in the studio with us. And just a follow-up question, Huey, regarding your hearing problem. It wasn't caused by performing and hearing loud music. You had a long-term medical condition that created this.
Right. I have a thing they call Meniere's disease, but it's not really a disease. It's a syndrome based on symptoms, and they really don't know what it is. I've been everywhere, and it just sort of happens. You get vertigo, and you lose your hearing. But what are you going to do?
Well, what you're going to do is enjoy the fact that Heart of Rock and Roll is a hit on Broadway.
Exactly.
That gives you something to enjoy.
That's right.
And Zoe Jensen, I was looking at your credits. You were Catherine Howard in the Broadway production of Six.
Mm-hmm.
You were in Dear Evan Hansen. You starred as Eliza on the first national tour of Hamilton. And then there are the off-Broadway credits, so on and so forth. But like almost every other New York actor I have ever met, you worked for Dick Wolf. Law and Order SVU.
That's right. I just had my TV debut in December. It was so fun. I feel like that's a threshold that all Broadway actors cross is they're like, oh, do you have an SVU episode? So I'm so happy that I finally have my SVU episode. It was a lot of fun and very different from Broadway.
Well, one of the things that always amazed me is the Broadway actor and the 8 performances a week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is really an incredible workload.
Oh, yeah.
And if an audience goes and sits in their seat and witnesses that 8th performance of the week, they need to see a performance that is as energetic and as exciting and as inspiring as performance number 1 of the week.
That's right. And I think that's what sets Broadway professionals apart is that you have to know how to bring that stamina for the last show. And it's quite a challenge, but I'll tell you what, typically the last show of the week is the silliest show of the week, which I think is perfect for a Huey Lewis musical, but we have a lot of fun on that last Sunday.
Well, Huey, I saw you at Madison Square Garden when you headlined at Madison Square Garden in the 80s.
Okay.
And it was a great show, and the News, they were a great band.
They were. Yep.
And you had so much success. I mean, even an Academy Award nomination.
True.
Not everybody who records a pop/rock song gets an Academy Award nomination, and you did.
Jim, you're embarrassing me.
Oh, come on. You sold over 20 million records. So many hits. People can just hear 1, 2. They don't even need to hear 3 notes. They know the song. And all of that came out of your head. And your
Amazing,
soul.
isn't it?
But how does that work?
Well, I'm 73 years old, so I've had a long time to think about it. So maybe that's it. Yeah, I don't know. It's I never thought. Lots of people said you should do a musical, blah blah blah. But I never actually thought we would. And the notion that here we are is amazing. And to watch the people enjoy the musical is really gratifying. To see our songs live this other life, and this and all the joy it inspires is really good. And the show's got a lot of heart. It's not just funny, but it's got a lot of heart, and we're very proud of it.
So Zoe, tell us about the story.
All right, so The Heart of Rock and Roll is that classic 80s rom-com. It's set in the Midwest, which as a Midwest girl, I'm from Rockford, Illinois, I just love.
Home of Cheap Trick.
That's right. And basically this show revolves around this business convention over the weekend and what can happen over those 3 days. You see old lovers come back trying to win people back. You see people figuring out who they really are. I think that's one of the main points of our show is we have many principal characters, and every single character goes through that journey of realizing that they have to make a choice for themselves who they're going to be and what they want in life.
And Huey, you hear these professional Broadway pit musicians
Yeah.
playing your compositions.
Mm-hmm.
And that must have been an exciting thrill. I know it's difficult for you to hear, but you could.
No. We've started. We've been working on the show for 9 years. So when we started, I had a hearing, but these musicians here on Broadway are tremendous. 2 of them are subs in my band, so they've been playing this stuff for years. But yeah, they're fantastic. And the orchestrator Brian Usfer's done an amazing job of reimagining a lot of our songs, such that some of the biggest numbers in the show are some of our tunes of ours that were on side 2 and never was a hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sort of buried, in fact, and that's been particularly neat to see how these sort of lesser songs amount to so much in the show.
Well, Zoe, you weren't born yet when
That's right.
when these songs were giant hits. So, was your first exposure to the music of Huey Lewis in the News when you watched Back to the Future and heard The Power of Love?
I think that's a hard thing to answer, because I think that if you have watched anything in the 80s and you hear Huey's voice, like, that's a very recognizable, very 80s iconic sound. So if anything, I feel like while doing this show, I've been like, oh my gosh, that song that I've always kind of known in the back of my head, like, that's a Huey Lewis song. I had no idea. Yeah, I just think Huey Lewis is iconic 80s.
And you went to SIU in Carbondale.
I did.
And you have your BFA.
I do.
So you've been working toward this moment for a
Yes.
long time.
Yes, this has been an absolute dream of mine, and this is a different experience for me because, as we were saying before, I've replaced in very big shows, and this is my first time getting to originate a role and just make it my own. And I felt from the first day of rehearsal that the entire team was like, all right, here's what you got, we're ready for you. Put whatever spin on it you want. So that's just been a thrill.
So,
And by the way, she's done a marvelous job. Zoe
Thanks, Huey.
has enormous talent, and it's on display in our show.
Thanks, Huey.
and how did you, Zoe? How did you earn your equity card?
My equity card was with a small off-Broadway show called We Are the Tigers, which was a show about a group of cheerleaders in a house for the night, and it's kind of like a horror movie. And it's a big mystery, and like most off-Broadway shows, you really don't get paid very much. I remember I was making maybe $200 a week, but the trade-off was that I got that equity card, which would open doors for me.
And Law and Order SVU got you your SAG-AFTRA card.
That's right, yeah.
And now you're making all the big bucks.
That's
obviously.
right.
Well, the truth of the matter is that these highly skilled, very hard-working actors on Broadway are, for the most part, with the exception of certain stars, middle-class people.
Absolutely.
These are middle-class jobs.
They don't do this for the money, Jim.
That's right.
No.
It's a thing that you just love. But, musical theater is the most demanding
Yeah.
and therefore the most rewarding form of artistic expression.
I agree.
And these Zoe and all the people in the cast are all triple threats. They all sing, dance, act. They play instruments, and they do this for love. They literally do, because there's just not a lot of money in it.
Well, the Heart of Rock and Roll is at the James Earl Jones Theater, and tickets are on sale at telecharge.com, or you can call 212-239-6200. And, of course, you can also visit the James Earl Jones Theater box office. Huey Lewis, thanks for taking the time to visit with us this morning. Zoe Jensen, good luck to you on your career.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure we will have many, many opportunities to see your work in the years to come.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.